everybody hear me? Everybody hear me?
Yes.
There's feedback.
Okay. Of course.
So Richard,
The 818 number is mine, Doug Waterman.
Richard, I need to take another call really quick. So Nate will be here. Nate has an announcement to make at some point during the meeting, and I'll be back as quickly as I can.
Okay, I got Doug Waterman, but if you're on the phone, can you just say your name?
Or there's a chat function. So if you have your phone number, everybody can hear me now, right?
Right.
If your phone number is showing up on the participant list, if you could please just chat who you are on the chat function.
They might be driving.
Oh. We don't want anyone to get in an accident. So luckily we have most of the folks. Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming today. It's 2:04, so we'll get started. We hope to go to about 3:30. And Sophia is running the slides. So thank you, Sophia, for helping on this and joining us. I think we also have Melinda Brown, who's the Vice President of Business Development, on the call. And so we wanted to kickstart. I don't know what we were supposed to be in, but we are going, we can't really have introductions. I know we're going to have Roger Dale speak first. So I think we have his slideshow. Roger's with the Nadelson Dale Group, and I think he's calling out of San Diego. So Roger is going to talk about the update of the CEDS, or as some folks know it, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. That's a tongue twister. What he's going to be doing, the work he's going to be doing, the collaboration he's going to be doing, kind of explaining the role as it will impact East Kern. And I know we have the B3K, which is a separate group on the Better Bakersfield and Boundless Kern initiative. So he'll talk about some of the work with them, as well as separate work that he's doing. So I think we can do the slideshow, right?
Yes.
Roger, are you there?
Yes, good afternoon. And I can do the slideshow on my end, or if it's better for you to do it there, that's fine too.
I have it, Roger, so I can just scroll through for you if you'd like.
Okay, thank you.
Can you all see it on the screen?
I think you could go into slideshow mode. You'd get the full screen then.
Right. Yeah, it's the up. Yeah, it should be on the right above the fifth one, right? Yeah, keep going.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
From beginning.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Richard. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you for a minute about the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. And I'll take a minute just to explain some of the terminology. I know that, as Richard mentioned, that's kind of a mouthful, but there's a reason for it, and I think there's a reason that you all will be excited that the county is doing this. So just to get some of the terms up front, and I know some of you have heard about this many times, but just to make sure everyone's on the same page, we're going to be talking about a comprehensive economic development strategy, which is often abbreviated just to be called a CEDS. And that is a particular designation of the U.S. Economic Development Administration, which is sometimes abbreviated EDA. So, as I'll discuss in a moment, a CEDS, or a Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, it's basically an economic development strategic plan, but it has that special name because it is submitted to the EDA for approval, and I'll explain why as we move along. The other term I'd like to bring out to our attention is what's called a SEDS project. And one of the main reasons that cities and counties prepare SEDS documents and then submit them for approval to the EDA is that potentially makes projects in your communities eligible for federal grant funding. And these are federal grants that relate to economic development, primarily things that are directly geared towards creating new jobs or otherwise securing economic development investments in the community. And by listing a project in the SEDS, it doesn't guarantee that you'll get funding for it, but it opens the door that you can then go back after the SEDS is approved and on a project by project basis apply for grant funding. And this is something that the Kern County has done for a number of years. Kern County has had a SEDS for at least 20 years that I'm aware of, possibly longer. But the SEDS document needs to be updated every 5 years. So this is the periodic update of the SEDS. And I should also mention that Kern County has been successful in the past in actually getting EDA funding. And so this is not just a hypothetical exercise for the county. It's something that is important as both a planning document, but probably of more interest, it's a direct connection to federal funding for economic development investments. In general, EDA grants through the SEDS process, I would say average in the low 7-figure range. In other words, $1 to $2 million. Although there are some that are much more than that, $10 million or more. They're typically investing in hard infrastructure that, again, facilitates economic development. But I've also seen them invest in programs or concepts like business incubators or other programs that support an economic development effort within a local community. There is typically a matching requirement of about 50%, although in some cases the cities or counties can pay less than 50% if they meet special criteria in terms of their demographics. So we can talk more about that as we go along, but it's just an important to point out that the reason that the county is specifically doing a SEDS in addition to other economic development programs and plans that it's putting together is because the SEDS is a gateway to federal EDA grants. The last thing I'll mention on this slide is I know that many of you are familiar with the other effort that's going on countywide now, which is sometimes called B3K, Better Bakersfield, Boundless Kern. And that is a countywide initiative to look at economic development foundations and improving the county's long-term economic development strength and health, and looking at specific industries that are most viable for growing and retaining in Kern County and its different sub-areas. The reason I'm mentioning it here is because the EDA in requiring a SEDS doesn't just want a wish list of projects that you're going to be requesting funding for, but they want to see how do those projects fit within the county's or the community's overall plans for economic development and overall programs. In a sense, they want to see that they're making a good investment in a community that's going to use the money or use the project to leverage for a larger economic development program. And so a SEDS typically requires basically putting together an economic development strategic plan that follows the EDA's format, again, to show that the projects that are being put forward as candidates for funding connect well to a larger vision and plan for what the area and the region can support in terms of economic development. In this case, the county, of course, is not interested in duplicating efforts, and the EDA will accept documents from other processes. In this case, the B3K process has a lot of the information and a lot of the analysis that we would typically put as background in the SEDS is already being done by B3K. So our intent is not to duplicate that, but to utilize it for this purpose and therefore get the SEDS done much more efficiently than would be the case if we were starting from scratch. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. Just a little background on our company. We're an economic development and real estate consulting firm. I've been around for about 46 years. Some of the types of projects we work on are economic development strategic planning, looking at target industry analysis. What are the industries that a community or a region are well suited to attract and grow? Often that also involves looking at business retention, attraction, and expansion plans or marketing programs. And we often link what's going on in terms of industry development with a community's real estate assets and strategies for creating the physical capacity for the target industries that an area is looking at. And a lot of this work involves structuring partnerships between local communities and regional organizations, which we know is already a very active concept in Kern County through the work that KEDC and the county do in local communities. And this is something that is very important in the SEDS document as well. And just to mention, our firm has had a lot of background in Kern County. We prepared an economic development strategic plan countywide back in the late 1990s and have done a number of other projects for individual cities and basically have worked pretty continuously in Kern County for about the past 25 years. So really excited to be back and working on this project. Next slide. So I've already covered some of this, but just to again make the distinction, a SEDS is an economic development strategic plan, but it's a special kind of economic development plan and for special purposes. And as I mentioned, the main reason that the city does this separate from its other plans is it is a gateway to federal funding. One of the requirements is that the SEDS is put together under the direction of a SEDS committee, and this is a federal EDA requirement. However, there is some flexibility in how that's actually implemented at the local level, and in this case, again, we're going to link to the B3K process so that we're not duplicating efforts and asking people to come to additional meetings when we really can cover it effectively through the other process. The EDA has a structured format for doing a SWOT analysis, looking at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats affecting your local economy. And again, we will utilize the B3K data as best we can, but as needed, kind of reformat it so it fits the EDA's requirements. And at the end of the process, they want to see an action plan that focuses on several themes that are important to the EDA. And I think I've talked about an integrated approach. They want to see not just a list of projects that you're asking for money for, but how do those integrate with a larger vision and plan for economic development. They're very interested in what are the target industries or industry clusters that your region is growing and how these investments will facilitate growth of those clusters. They have had in recent years a focus on sustainability and also economic resiliency. And this whole concept of economic resiliency is, of course, getting a lot of discussion right now in this COVID-impacted era. But even a few years before this was something that the EDA had added to its requirements for a SEDS. So we'll be looking at describing to them what Kern County is doing about economic resilience. And then, as I mentioned earlier, EDA is very excited about the concept of collaboration between regional organizations and local communities, public and private, and they like to see how the resources that they're being asked to invest in your community are being potentially leveraged by these other organizations. And then, of course, they want to see specific goals and performance measures. The EDA requires an annual performance report from the jurisdiction that's preparing the SEDS, and we will set this up in a way that it is something that can be readily tracked so that those annual reports are less of a cumbersome process for the county to submit. And then, as I've mentioned already, a big part of this is putting together a SEDS project list, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. Okay, next slide, please. So the process involves a lot of stakeholder outreach, but as I've mentioned, our intent is to supplement what's being done with B3K and not to repeat it. So we're not anticipating extra meetings beyond what is already part of that process, but we're going to supplement it as we need to get community level and local input, and I'll describe that more in a moment. There is a requirement for technical analysis, especially as it relates to what are your target industries or industry clusters. And again, we'll link to the B3K process there. And then we will be providing practical implementation guidance for the county and local partners. So the EDA again wants to see how is all this information being used at the local level to come up with a program for economic development that's practical and action-oriented. And as part of this, we would typically include short-term, maybe first-year priorities and longer-term investments that would probably take longer to happen, but you can start building the groundwork for those now as part of the plan. And then, as I've said before, all of this, we're going to integrate the additional work that we're doing as well as the work from B3K and get that in the format that the EDA requires for a SEDS. Next slide. So all that being said, as I've said, we're very familiar with Kern County. We've also done SEDS projects for other cities and counties throughout California. And in our experience, what makes a SEDS effective and what will potentially make it an attractive investment tool as far as attracting EDA grants is paying attention to some of the conditions that make the county unique or some of the unique challenges. So some of the things that we're aware of that we would anticipate emphasizing in the SEDS would include the following things. First of all, we know it's a large county geographically and has very distinct sub-areas and diverse economic conditions. And I know that in East Kern County, this is especially an important theme, that the strategies and the potential investments in communities are distinct from what's happening, for example, in Bakersfield. So that this document is really an opportunity for the smaller communities and the communities on the eastern part of the county to distinguish themselves and to have programs and potential projects that serve their specific needs that may or may not align with other parts of the county, but serve the needs of that community and look at leveraging the opportunities of each community. We know that diversification of the local economies has been an ongoing theme in Kern County for many years in terms of expanding on and diversifying from the historic core industries, agriculture and oil. And I know in the eastern part of the county, you're, I would say, in many ways kind of at the forefront of that, because some of the more exciting things that are happening in terms of diversification are things that have a good foothold in the eastern part of the county. So that's, I think, a theme that works well for the SEDS also. Everyone, of course, is very focused right at the moment on COVID and how that's affected local communities economically. And that is certainly a legitimate part of a SEDS document, although I would say that this also has a longer term focus. So we're going to be looking at what are the communities doing or what can they be doing about the immediate response to COVID. In many cases, that's already underway. But we're going to combine that with a longer term focus on resilience. So what is the county learning about economic resilience through COVID that becomes part of a normal way of doing business? And the EDA is very keen on that type of strategy. As I've mentioned, this will be a multi-jurisdictional SEDS. It's being submitted by the county, but it is really each city that is within the county has, I would say, ownership of this document as well. The county is kind of handling the administration, but this is an opportunity for each community and each city to distinguish itself in terms of its programs and also to participate in the process of potentially applying for grant funding. And so we will definitely distinguish sub-areas, and each community will be given opportunities to contribute to that list of candidate projects for EDA funding. And then we've talked about this already several times, but just to hit it home again, because it's an important concept with EDA, is leveraging public resources with private partnerships and private investment. And I think to the extent we can show that federal investments in these communities will do that, that will make the projects much more competitive in terms of grant applications. Next slide. And some of this I've already gone over, so I'll just quickly mention kind of the work that we're going to do. We will develop a profile of the county and the sub areas, again, pulling where we need to from the B3K data, although there's this kind of a specific requirements for demographic data from the EDA, which we can pull fairly quickly. The industry cluster analysis will really entirely refer to what the B3K process is doing, and I know that they've been active already in different parts of the county in terms of working with industry stakeholder groups, or if they haven't yet, they will be doing that soon. And so we're really going to be piggybacking on that process as far as the industry cluster analysis for the SEDS. The SWOT analysis, same concept. We'll utilize that data, but put in the format that the EDA requires. Economic resilience is a special heading that the EDA requires in these documents, but again, I think it aligns pretty closely with what a lot of communities are thinking about right now, just because of the response to COVID. And then the SEDS project list is probably in terms of the effort that our firm is going to put into this process, the most significant thing. A lot of the other things are being derived from B3K, but this SEDS project list will be unique to this document. It's my understanding that B3K will be looking at identifying fundable priorities and projects throughout the county, but our intention is to supplement this with any potentially smaller scale projects that individual communities or cities would like to have as candidates for EDA funding. And I should mention that I said at the outset, and I'll say again, that just putting a project on the list in the SEDS is not a guarantee of funding, but it is a requirement. If you do want to submit a grant application for a particular project, it does need to be listed in the SEDS. So we will be working with each of the cities to identify projects that have a direct tie to economic development, things that they may have already planned for but have not yet identified resources to fund them. This might be an opportunity to put those as priorities in the SEDS, and we will make sure that each community has an opportunity to submit projects that, whether or not they are kind of the regional scale projects that the B3K process is identifying, at the community level, smaller projects are certainly valid for EDA grant applications, and this will be the opportunity to get those listed in the document. And we'll link that to the B3K document as appropriate, and maybe supplement it for purposes of EDA, but again, not trying to reinvent the wheel or be redundant with what that process is doing. And then finally, we'll be working with the county staff to actually get the SEDS approved. It's a little bit of a process going through the steps with the EDA, but we're confident that if we do the planning effort correctly and according to their guidelines, it usually goes very smoothly. So we'll support the staff in that. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, I mentioned community engagement is a critical requirement as far as the EDA and the SEDS process. They do allow, though, that we can leverage or piggyback on other existing efforts that are going on or have already happened. So one of the specific requirements is to have a SEDS committee. I think it was the county's decision that we didn't want to spread our stakeholders too thin on new meetings and new committees. And since the B3K process serves a very similar purpose, we're going to tie it to the B3K steering committee and hopefully not require anyone to attend extra meetings specific to the SEDS. That being said, if there are individuals who especially for local communities who would like to provide input that for whatever reason isn't really in the scope of the B3K process. We are absolutely glad to have direct coordination with the cities and the communities through extra interviews, and I would certainly extend that invitation to anyone on this meeting today. If you would like to make sure that your community's priorities and projects are well represented in this process, we're definitely glad to reach out to you and have an interview with an individual or a small group. We do anticipate direct coordination with the cities and the communities on developing the SEDS project list. And we will work with Richard on identifying who the best point of contact is at the cities. Usually it's an economic development person or a public works person, because as I've mentioned, the projects tend to be infrastructure oriented. Often they're projects that a city already has identified, maybe has even developed cost estimates for it, but they just don't have a viable funding source at the local level. And so we would work with them to identify projects that would be high priorities over the next several years and list those as candidate projects within the SEDS. If it's a project or a community that's in the unincorporated area, that would be still eligible, but since there's not a city representing it, it would go directly under the county, and we will work with county staff to make sure those projects are represented for the distinct communities throughout the county. I think that really covers the overview that I had hoped, if we go to the next slide, hope to provide. I want to just again thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. Be glad to take questions. I should emphasize that we're really just getting started on this process, so I don't really have information to share back with you yet in terms of what are the priorities we're identifying strategically within the communities. That process is really just starting. We really just wanted to touch base with you today to let you know what we will be doing as we get into this. Make sure that you're aware that your communities are definitely a part of the process, and make that connection. And the actual finalization of this process won't happen until sometime in early 2021. So we're going to be working on this over the next several months and kind of doing it, as I've said, in tandem with B3K. So just really, this is a starting point. Glad to get kind of acquainted with all of you, and at this point, glad to respond to any questions you might have.
Great, thanks, Roger. Any questions, comments? And Roger, I'll send the slides out to the folks today. Can you list your contact information too on add a slide?
I sure can, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
At your next meeting, that'd be great.
Wonderful, thanks so much.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
So I think it's my turn. So Sophia, thank you for getting our, oh, that's it. That'll be coming later. It's some rocks from Golden Queen. So I will begin my part of the slideshow. Perfect. Great. Well, thank you. And so I always start with kind of the state of the county, and so we look at the unemployment rate, which we have you know, through I guess through July, and so you can see we hit a peak at about 18.7% in May, and we've dropped slightly to around 16.5%. And obviously within your own communities in East Kern, a lot of the communities in East Kern actually have a much lower unemployment rate. And so this is just county-wide, but you can see kind of the labor force actually has shrunk, and then this does not include people that recently filed unemployment claims. But again, see, moving forward in the context of that, I know we were talking to Roger about Kern County was ranked as one of the least or most resilient areas during the COVID crisis because of the economic diversity. So next slide. And if you can see this is Kern County. It's Bakersfield MSA, which is the whole county. And so we can see how our individual sectors rank. And so this is actually July this year versus July of last year. And you can see actually construction, we're number one, which is the second industry sector listed, number one in the country out of the top, I believe it's 53 mid-sized metros, and a significant construction activity, a lot of residential, and we'll talk today about some of the retail, logistics, etc. And then going down, financial activities, but some of the others are definitely been significantly hit, healthcare, manufacturing, and again, coming into this year, we were really, firing on all cylinders and have taken a significant step back due to the pandemic. Next slide. Again, this is for Kern County, and so I'll go through in a minute some additional slides, but Kern County, which again is Bakersfield MSA, we were actually, this is kind of moving into the middle of the summer, regions that were had recovered most during COVID-19. And again, this is through July, so there are additional restrictions that occurred in the last 4 to 8 weeks in terms of quarantine, et cetera. But we'd like to promote this as a to the outside world through social media, LinkedIn, et cetera. And frankly, we think a lot of interest down in the LA basin happening in Kern County as I talk about that future proofing for industries. And I know Melinda's seeing a significant uptick in manufacturing and actually projects in East Kern that are very promising. Next slide. So there's a website called tracktherecovery.org, and they actually update it, I think, twice a week. And the great thing is they do, they do comparative data versus Kern County versus other metros, other counties, California versus other states. And so if you look at our consumer spending, it actually, versus January, it's about 8% less versus January of 2020. Versus the state is there's over 12% change in negative in consumer spending, and LA and the Bay Area actually their numbers are about 25%. And so how will that affect GDP, metro GDP moving forward? And we can talk about per capita income too as well. But this is again, it's called tracktherecovery.org, and you can see milestone events in this last 6 days. Next slide. Interestingly enough, we looked at, and this is for the nation, but maybe as we talk about in your communities, but the low wage unemployment really has been hit. So you can see that in terms of February 1 versus in July, that actually high employment jobs, those about 60,000 over, actually have had only about 0.5% decline. And then that compares to low wage employment, of course, significant retail hit, et cetera. There's actually been a 16% decline. So as we look at sectors and as we look at various classifications, SOCs of jobs, this is something that is very telling, and we'll see again how fast things will bounce back, especially on the lower end retail that's been significantly impacted. Next. We looked at it, they do time spent outside. I don't know if that's physically outside in the 80 or 100 degree, out in Bakersfield 100 degree and poor air quality, or actually driving from one location to others. But they monitor even, and there's a correlation between time spent outside and consumer spending. And so again, you can see our Kern County's rate is about half of spent. Been impacted negatively, that factor, and you can even do breakdown by various percentage of time spent at restaurants and other industry, especially service providers. Next slide. Job postings, again, this is important. Again, we came into the 2020 with a pretty robust, strong economy, and this shows this is for Kern County. Versus, you can see, I think I put the San Francisco and LA in terms of various lockdowns. But positive news is we, although we're in negative territory, we have held our own, at least in comparative analysis, looking at other communities. Central Valley, actually, I don't have Fresno and some other regions, but it has been, those numbers are pretty similar to Bakersfield, Kern County. Again, this is Kern County data, but the major metros have significantly, basically in depression versus we're more in that recession type economy. Next slide. So we talked about EDA. Roger talked about that. We are launching, hopefully you all got through our Robley earlier this week. We are launching a program. I know Doug Waterman's on the call with CMTC, which is California Manufacturing Technology Consulting. And the goal is to talk to manufacturers throughout the county of various programs to provide assistance. Again, we're no cost. We come in and talk about ability to help. Much like in 09, we had a pretty extensive program where we talked to over 250 businesses. And there we are in initial discussions seeing many manufacturers that are actually looking to expand. And again, I think because of the location, Kern County, we may be the solution for the large areas to provide that just-in-time products. There will be smaller in terms of logistics and the size of operations, but more needed. So we think this program is important. Remember, 80 to 90% of new jobs created in our region are from existing businesses. And I know we have a couple of, we have Rio Tinto, we have Golden Queen, I know, talking about their growth in these times. And so I think we have to understand if our local businesses aren't happy, aren't successful, then, that's going to have a dire effect on our economy. So we're excited. This is an 8-month program. Again, EDA, it's EDA funded. And we're working, and we love, as we work, outreach work with each of you in your communities, to be part of that. The only difference with 09 is 09, most of the companies we could visit in person. And now we offer that, but also, there will be a lot more Zoom conversations, which sometimes take the spontaneity out of that conversation. And so we always love to tour the site and talk about what each business does. But this is something we're going to adapt to the new realities. Next slide. So our Energy Summit, I know East Kern is a huge part in terms of being the energy capital of the U.S. And we are still holding this event. Last year we had 400 to 500, most successful year ever. Sophia does a fabulous job managing that. We are going to have the event, albeit it will be in December. We wanted to leave time, significant time after the election for folks to weigh in. It will be pre-recorded in November at KGT Studios. But bear in mind, even though I think KGT only goes, I think, out to Tehachapi in terms of coverage, this will be streaming live on our website as well as their website. We want to make sure the whole county, frankly, the whole country or world sees this event. And it will be a 90-minute various conversations, presentations. They've just upgraded their studio, one of the most high-tech in the country. And we will be doing that. It will be broadcast on a Saturday at 6 o'clock. I usually watch Lawrence Welk during then, so I guess I'm going to have to take a break. But we will be promoting, we sent out the initial, I think Sophia sent out yesterday. So more to come on that. But again, this will be available throughout the county to watch, be it live, even though it's pre-recorded, or at a future date. So we're getting great feedback from many of the energy companies. And again, it's all about all types of energy and why Kern County really, is a best practice in and of itself. A couple more slides. We also, we had our first through Kite. Many of you are familiar with Kite, which we co-founded with JP Lake at Seed Corps, Kern Initiative for Town and Entrepreneurship, gokite.org. we will be having our second roundtable. Last roundtable was the future of co-working. We had Nikki Cummings in Tehachapi, as well as Justin Powers in Kern River Valley. This one will be, we'll have several entrepreneurs and talking about the first 6 months, or as they say, from inception, and how to build a successful business. We'll be promoting those speakers later, but that's September the 29th at 2:30. The kite, much like the visitations, we were supposed to go around the county. I think this meeting was supposed to be in Ridgecrest. Obviously, that's not going to happen in person there, but we are still keeping moving on this critical initiative. Again, 80 to 90% of net new jobs are from companies less than a year old. So that's what is really driving this program. And I think I got one more slide, and our market overview, Kern County market overview member directory is going to come out, I believe, October. And we're excited about that. We won an award, International EDC Award, a couple of years ago. Again, we use local companies. Marcom is the one that assists us on this. So Sophia's doing a fabulous job on putting that together. And so we'll be releasing that in about a month. So we'll make sure, Roger, that you get a copy too. So thank you. I think any questions, comments? Well, we have Kern County. I know that Teresa was not able to attend. We'll see those later. Kern County, I think someone from ETR, Employers Training Resource, may be here. Is Danette here? Okay, going once, going twice. I know Kelly Bearden is champing at the bit up in Modesto, staying one step hopefully ahead of the fires. Kelly, are you still with us?
Absolutely. And I am chomping at the bit.
It's actually champing, but never mind.
Well, semantics. Okay, well, the small business report is there's a lot going on. We're still seeing record numbers of clients and record numbers on our training programs, as well as many of the centers around are reporting as much as a 10-fold increase, as we really start to see small businesses still majorly attracted and impacted by what's going on. You know, there was a survey put out by the Small Business Majority, and they found that 44% of small businesses are at risk of closing down. And that's going to continue now that we've seen big PPP program, the Payroll Protection Program, that saw the federal government roll out about $525 billion. And we're going to see most businesses have that money already spent. And with kind of the new stimulus kind of in a stalled position because of political concerns, there's really a big pressure on getting capital to small businesses, particularly those that are unable to be open during this time or open with limited restrictions. So we're seeing a lot of businesses these days and continuing to work with them. We have a couple of training events. We last year did our East Kern Capital Summit, which was the second year we had done that in Tehachapi. And our Capital Summits are a half-day program. At least they were in person, where we would present about 15 to 30 different loan, equity, and other programs. This year, we're going to take it online and do it one big one, rather than do one in Bakersfield, one in East Kern, and then one in the Eastern Sierra. We're going to do one large one where we're hoping to attract a really significant keynote. This week, we completed our 26th consecutive Webinar Wednesday for pandemic relief. And next week, we have a really good program. It'll be a guest host by Keith Bryce of Mid-State Development Corporation. And he'll have 3 significant employers in Kern County on talking about their COVID-related issues and problems that they've had during the last 26 weeks, including one from East Kern, the Kern River Brewing Company. Also, coming up on our webinars later this month, we're going to have the Queen of Crowdfunding, so appointed by Forbes magazine. Ruth Hedges will be joining us as a guest on September 30th. And really, crowdfunding is really an opportunity. I believe that its time has appeared. I think we're familiar a little bit with GoFundMe and Kickstarter and other rewards-based programs. But there's equity crowdfunding where you can actually invest in businesses. Ruth has put on major national conferences throughout the United States, mostly in Las Vegas. She resides now in Dallas and is going to be joining us talking about crowdfunding our small businesses to get them through the pandemic. Those are a few of the things going on. We were really optimistically, we're very happy to see the governor sign legislation benefiting California small businesses. So the legislature passed a number of different rules or laws on tax relief, one of them being excluding the PPP loans from state taxes, but also creating some hiring tax credits and other tax relief for small business, including waiving the minimum franchise tax for new businesses. So you don't have to pay the $800 to the Secretary of State for new businesses for the 2021 budget year. They've authorized already sales tax increase. They've increased access to capital with $125 million in small business loans. So really exciting to see the state of California jump up with kind of our federal efforts for small businesses really stalled at this time. So that's what we have going on. A lot of going on with small businesses, obviously, and that's on my report.
Kelly, thank you. Is it midnight where you are?
It appears that way because of the smoke, but it appears that way, I think, everywhere. And talking with another person up outside of Seattle, they're experiencing the same thing. So apparently it's a West Coast phenomenon, this wonderful smoke that we've had, and hopefully it gets better.
Hopefully your vineyard has held up.
My vineyard had harvest last weekend, and it's going to have a little bit more this weekend. And, you know, I think really you need to be more concerned about Napa and Sonoma and the North Coast and other areas to where they actually earn a living with the smoke taint that is really going to be a huge issue with the California wine industry throughout the state this year, including the Paso Robles region and hopefully not in the Tehachapi area.
Well, thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Richard.
District 1, we have Philip or Leanne? Okay, well, District 2, I believe I saw Zach.
Hey, Richard, how you doing?
Hey, good afternoon.
Hi, everybody.
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too, thanks. Want to go over a couple of things. First, I'm going to give a kind of a quick update on our Current Recovers program. The Current Recovers program includes the $30 million for small businesses in the form of forgivable loans. That program, the money that we allocated to it, first it was $20 million, then we added another 10. That has been, or rather, I think 25. We had another 5. That $30 million has been extinguished up to this point. We're continuing to evaluate our available funding through the Federal CARES Act to see if we can add more to that. Those loans, as you all probably remember, were targeted for businesses that did not receive a PPP loan through the feds. And also we started tailoring the program for businesses that had to shut down for a second time, such as restaurants, gyms, salons, etc. That program was extremely popular, very successful. We were very expeditious in the way in which we processed those applications. We thank our partners with our local lending institutions that helped us to roll that program out. Now people have been given notifications to file their request for forgiveness. As long as your loan was used for in response to COVID and you showed you were impacted by COVID, those loans will be forgiven. Grant program, recognizing the fact that so many nonprofits in the county were impacted by COVID in that they were not able to do their fundraising as they normally would. Obviously, there are events that support a lot of our nonprofits that were no longer possible in this age of social distancing and having no quote unquote gatherings. And so we allocated $1 million for that program The application on the website went live at the beginning of the month. You can find that under the Kern Recovers if you are part of a nonprofit or know of a nonprofit that could benefit from that. We also allocated $5 million in partnership with the city of Bakersfield with their $5 million for a rental assistance program. That's for renters who can demonstrate that their financial hardships were caused by COVID. They can apply for rental assistance, and that is a coordinated effort between the county and the city of Bakersfield. So as it stands, there's a total of $10 million between the two entities that's been allocated to that program. You can also get information on that.
Appreciate it. And I got to get back to this
on our website.
East Kern Zoom, but no, I appreciate you calling.
Okay, mute if you're not talking. Okay. We also have had some unfortunate news that has come down from the state. Kern County was tracking to get out of the purple tier, which is the most restrictive tier. I think about 70% some odd of the whole state's population was in that most restrictive tier, the purple tier. In order to move into the red tier, you have to demonstrate a test, a less than 7 positive COVID cases per 100,000 population per day, and also a test positivity rate. So at the testing sites, however many tests you collect, you can't have more than 8% test positive in that. And so the county is, we are right on the precipice of getting into the red tier. And that's due to the progress that we've made. Everybody has been, I think, very diligent in the distancing, the wearing masks when you can't distance, and the hand washing, et cetera. And so we're right on the cusp of being able to move into that next lower tier, which would allow for restaurants to open to a limited capacity for indoor dining. It creates opportunities for our schools to be able to reopen, and for other businesses to be able to open at limited capacity like gyms. But unfortunately, now the governor announced just yesterday that they're penalizing Kern and other counties for the lack of utilization of their test sites, meaning that because we are not testing enough, even though we have a dozen test sites in the county, we are going to get an artificially inflated number in both those two areas that I talked about, both positive cases and test positivity rate. And so that throws us further back. So if you're a small business and you've been hanging on by your fingernails to hopefully reopen once the county moves into that next tier, the governor has just thrown you another curveball. The governor has just moved the goalposts on you. They've changed the rules once again, and so now we're set back even further. Kern is not the only county that is frustrated with this. In our discussions with the California Association of Counties, as well as other public health departments throughout the county, every county is upset by this. And now the governor today is talking about some kind of equity consideration, which includes both racial and economic. We have no idea what he means by that, no idea what the rules are. We don't know if that's going to impact us negatively or positively in being able to reopen. But nevertheless, it just continues to demonstrate how this governor keeps moving the bar on us. There's no consistency, and there's no explanation really for why these rules keep changing. We were told that we were shutting down the economy to prevent our hospitals from being overwhelmed. As it stands today, Kern County has nearly 50 ICU beds available. We have somewhere in the neighborhood of about 34, 35 ICU patients. We have over 860 hospital beds available. And so we've done our job on the local level. Our hospitals have done their job. Kern County, through our CARES money, has supplemented the hospital's ability to staff ICU beds by spending $8 million to hire a group of traveling nurses to supplement that. But despite all those efforts, despite the fact that our numbers as far as hospitalizations are very good, the governor is penalizing Kern County once again, and it's going to keep our businesses closed even longer, once again, with no explanation whatsoever. Moving on to some good news, Kern County is pushing for the effort to locate the Space Command headquarters in Palmdale. We approved a letter signed by all 5 supervisors on September 1st to support Palmdale's application for that. This would be a boon for all of Eastern Kern County. So all of our communities, in Eastern Kern, we kind of think about the Antelope Valley as a team effort. And so along with Palmdale, Lancaster, Tehachapi, Rosamond, Boron, Cal City, Mojave, and Ridgecrest, this is going to be a group effort for us to try to locate that. Preliminary estimates are about a $2 billion federal investment that would happen in Eastern Kern. But your economic development experts would probably tell you that may lead to somewhere in the neighborhood of about a $400 billion total economic impact when you look at jobs, the spending that occurs, what that means to the real estate market, auto sales, home, clothing sales, retail, everything else. And so I think that East Kern is the best place for it. Obviously, maybe I'm a bit biased, but with our weather, with our protected military airspace, the 2508, with the infrastructure we already have in place with Mojave Air and Spaceport, Edwards Air Force Base, China Lake Naval Weapons Station, Eastern Kern is, I think, the best place of anywhere for that investment to be made. And so we'll continue to push and support all efforts regionally to make that happen. One last little announcement, but it's a big deal for a little town. The Loves in Boron is going to be opening on September 25th. And I know that at least 11 local Boron residents have been hired for that Loves Travel Center. And that's going to also generate a lot of sales tax for the county that we can use to hire sheriffs and staff fire stations and increase library hours. So unless anybody has any questions, that's the extent of my report. I appreciate your attention.
Well, thanks, Zach, for advocating not just for our residents, but our economy. I mean, keep up the good fight. Well, I guess we got... Does somebody have a Bill Deaver?
No, somebody just called me. You want me to give my report?
Oh no, I'm asking if no, you're coming up later. Any questions for Zach?
Yeah. No, sounds good.
Thanks, Zach. Again, appreciate the update. We have Boron next. Rio Tinto. For some reason, all I see is Bill Deaver's eye.
Hey guys, we're here. It's MB and it's Nate, and I'm gonna let Nate go first. He's got an announcement.
So I guess the big announcement, some people may already know, but my role is changing at US Borax in Rio Tinto. I'm being reassigned to Rio Tinto closure. So with that, I will be taking with me the legacy sites for US Borax, like properties in Death Valley, and I'll be handing off the operational duties to Bill Cole, which I believe is online with us, who will assume like the land management roles there at Boron and assist with our other operations out at Owens Lake in Wilmington.
Him from our waste stream, take it out of the clays that we have already processed once, and we're processing it again, and we're making lithium. So it's pretty cool. Everybody was very excited. They did that last week, and So, right now they're doing refinement. They're still working on ways to make it economically feasible because it's rather expensive right now. And our goal is to get it to battery grade lithium. So we have a little bit more to go, but our really smart people tell us they can do it. So it's pretty cool. We'll be having a big media announcement on that in the upcoming weeks. So that's pretty exciting for the region. Another thing that I have is that part of the COVID response, we have given away quite a bit of money. The most recent one that just hit the banks of the Muroc School District is $200,000 to purchase Chromebooks for learning, for virtual learning, distance learning. And so, we recognize that several of our young people in our communities, they don't have the ability to, or the wherewithal to have a computer for each child. And so this will go a far way to make sure that every kid gets to have the same access to learning as every other child. So we're very excited about that. And a third part of our outreach for is economic recovery. And we are now offering, and so I want to talk to Alexa and Richard and see if there's interest. But we have a team of experts that are offering virtual learnings for small businesses on ways on how they can manage and how they can rebuild their business, and giving them resources and how, if they want to take their business online, how do they do that? What does that look like? And it's really geared towards mom and pops. So it's really geared towards small business. And so I really felt like it would work probably for businesses in the Eastern Kern. And we could do if there's interest in helping reach out for this, we could do some, a couple, 2 different days of education for small, and it's really geared towards small business owners. So, so after this meeting, if anyone wants to talk to me about it, I haven't gotten all the material. I literally just got off the phone and they said, Mary Beth, we're going to send it to you so I could discuss it. But I'm like, the right people are in the other room, so I need to go talk to them. So anyway, that's kind of exciting, I think. And maybe we can offer it to businesses through chambers or whatever. I don't know. But if anyone has some good ideas, maybe we can do something in Bill and Mojave, something in Cal City. So let's think about it. I think it'll be cool. Really smart people from Rio. And the whole training was developed by Ernst & Young. And so it's pretty high quality. They have had great success in Canada with it. They've done it 2 times and it's been met with enormous success, but they do gear it towards your community. So there's some pre-meetings so that they can be prepared for who their audience is. So that's pretty cool. So that's all I got. I mean, we're rocking and rolling out in the desert, folks.
Well, Mary Beth,
I think I would also comment, Mary, that we're, other things that are going on from a land perspective is that we're starting to look at creating a roadmap to developing some of our buffer land around the site for other industrial commercial uses, and we've engaged with a couple of folks already within the county and the Economic Development Committee, and we'll kind of try and keep you guys posted on our progress towards that roadmap of figuring out what the possibilities might be.
And Bill is the lead on that. And so we're very excited about the possibilities. And with the Loves opening, just like Zach just talked about, we think we would be a nice, it'd be a perfect area for that kind of development. We have rail, we have, over the road, we have a lot of good resources to make that work. So Richard's been part of those discussions, so has Alexa. So
Thank
That's
you,
good.
Mary Beth. Later today, Golden Queen is going to have show pictures of their minerals. Do you have any photos of the lithium we could share?
I do on this computer, and we just took it like on Monday when there was a smoke haze over Boron, but they had to take them anyway. So I can send you some photos after this meeting. How does that sound?
Great. Thank you all. It's great working with you. Appreciate the partnership.
You betcha.
So next we have California City. And goodbye, Nate. We're going to see, I can't see you on the screen, Nate, but will we see you again in person? Oh, nice beard.
You may, or you may not. Don't know just yet. I'm still figuring out the new role.
Okay. Congratulations. Good to have you back, Mary Beth, and Bill as well, meeting you the other day. Cal City,
thank you.
Anna, are you on the call? I know we have Sean from the city. I don't know if he wants to say. Obviously, we'll have Alexia, but Sean, do you have any?
So I'm going to stop. Oh, you're on.
Yeah, this is Sean. Yep. Yeah, I called in on my phone. Sorry, I didn't have a mic on my computer, but yeah, I got on the phone. So yeah, no, there's a lot of stuff going on in Cal City. We're really, really busy. It seems like the interest coming from specifically the South is almost overwhelming us in the planning department, but we're getting through. So we're starting a lot of that planning phase in quite a few projects. But specifically over the last couple months, we've had. I'm Sean Monk, city planner, City of California City. But we've had 6 new businesses opening up in August and September. Currently with cannabis, we have 12 cannabis businesses up and running, 13 under construction, 12 in the planning process. And then, just working on a couple bigger EIRs on the in the city, one for a prison expansion, another one for a very large solar project that's getting ready to be, the EIR is getting ready to be released here soon. And we also got the first tiny homes ordinance approved that allows tiny homes in single family lots in a municipality in the state. So we're the first ones to do that as well. So a lot going on up here and or out here. And if you have any other questions or want to give us any feedback, let me or Anna know, or Alexia. We're always in conversation with her. Oh, and also in specifically towards the Space Force project that's being proposed in Palmdale. Cal City has plenty of land to work with and plenty of open skies too. So we're here as well.
How do you, Sean? How do you define a tiny home?
So the way our ordinance actually has it written, tiny home, I believe. So we looked at City of LA. They define it as 200 square feet up to 500 for a tiny home. But we just went ahead and allowed anything from 200 and up. In specific areas. There's 12 tracks in the city that we allowed it. And if you go to our website, you can see that I have a PDF of the map of those tracks, so you can see where they're allowed.
Great, thank you. Thanks again. And then Alexia?
If Alexia has anything to add. Sorry, go again? Or say again?
So basically, I've just struck probably over half the things off of my list, so my thunder has been stolen.
Oh, sorry.
But it's all good, because it was all good news. Everything from space force to things going on in Boron, it's good. We've got COVID, but life and business still keeps going. I am going to leave this one to Amanda, and there was a grant that we worked on, and there's some others on the horizon. There's some things that I'm working on that aren't even quite to that planning stage, but talking to small manufacturers that are interested in working in this area, and it's not California City specific because, I'm working with 4 communities. And then another one is education. I've been able to really connect a lot of dots on education, especially when it comes to STEM education. A lot of conversation in the works. I'm really hoping that I have something to say in the November meeting. Everything's a little bit on hold because virtual learning, of course, is taking a lot of the education bandwidth right now. But everything from a mobile classroom type of education to tying in the colleges to coordinating with the base and some of the programs they have there. Continue to have conversations in hopes of having some housing built here in Cal City. And also Kern Cog is having active conversations about the 58 California City Exchange. That would be huge for us, especially from a safety standpoint, but also economically. And then on a very positive note, Edwards Air Force Base has released their latest numbers when it comes to their economic impact. And once again, the number is huge. And they contribute approximately $2.27 billion, that's with a B, $billion to the economy in Kern County.
Great, thank you. I know we're going to incorporate that in our market overview, so thanks for helping us get that data. Well, next, Kern River Valley. Justin, are you in on the call? Justin? Okay. Have Mojave, have a couple of folks from Mojave. Let's start out. Bill, Bill?
Yeah, we'd want to add our support to the Space Command. I know that I'm on the Airport District Board, and we sent letters requesting that. And, I was telling somebody last night, maybe we finally get some homes built here if we get something like that. But it's going to be spectacular for this whole Antelope Valley, Aerospace Valley. The other thing is at the airport, we got a nice big grant, thanks to the assistance of Congressman McCarthy, to rebuild Taxiway Charlie. That's the taxiway that runs right down in front of the restaurant, our main taxiway, and work should start on that, completely rebuild it this week or next week. And that's about it.
Thanks, Bill. Amanda?
Yeah, so as Alexia mentioned, I'll give you a little bit of background because I don't think we've spoken about this particular grant opportunity with this group. But back in August, Alexia and I went to Sacramento. Yeah, I was in Sacramento for the Defense Community Summit up there. And the Office of Economic Adjustment was releasing some information about a grant that was going to become available this year. They released the entire opportunity and all of the requirements and everything in May of this year, and we kind of kept it on our radar to see if it was something that Kern County would be able to apply for. And so all throughout June, we participated in the questions, the webinars, and luckily right around that same time, Jeremy Woods at California State University, Bakersfield was putting together the Aerospace Valley's Futures working group that has people from all over, a lot of people in Eastern Kern County, a few from Bakersfield, all to kind of start working on additional projects, education and economic development based. So we had a really good platform to start putting together an application for the Defense Manufacturing Communities Program Grant is what it was called, DCMP for short. I've gotten so used to calling it that I had to remember what all of the acronyms standed for. But luckily in about 4 short weeks, we managed to put together an application. Jeremy spearheaded it, and CSUB was the lead applicant on it, with Kern County and AFRL being partners on it. And our initial plan was to apply for funding that would bring education opportunities to develop additive manufacturing courses at various levels to help like aerospace companies and stuff in the Antelope Valley. It was also going to help us tie together all of the various maker spaces that are being developed in the libraries at Kern County to the Fab Lab at Cal State Bakersfield, as well as the one that's being developed at the Antelope Valley College Palmdale campus site, to create a network that would allow for just collaboration between everybody, so that there could be workshops that would, scale up to provide opportunities to pretty much anybody that wants to try to learn those types of things or be able to develop new products. So we put it together and we applied. We did not receive the grant, but only one grant was issued to the state of California, and it was to the governor's office, GoBiz, for 5G application. So good. It was a great grant though. But we luckily, in developing that group, and we're all working together and figuring out some of the stuff that's really important to the region, it's kind of allowed us to be able to branch out, and we're looking at other grants as well as other smaller projects within the Aerospace Valley Futures Group. And should that grant opportunity be re-released next year or the following year, we will be tweaking our application and using it as a learning experience, and we'll hopefully be able to apply for funds in a future year. So that was pretty exciting. It was updated last month with everybody that was granted. But aside from that, Mojave specific news is just the chamber is fencing off their lot. That was step one in our development project for the chamber lot. So it's actually, the work is set to start next month within a few weeks. And then step two is still trying to find funding to move the caboose and create a historical site there. And so we're still working on that aspect, but that's about it.
Thanks. And I know we have also, as we talk with the cities, communities, also as we get employers, Alan Shirkey is with Golden Queen Mine, and I posted on LinkedIn. They have an amazing video. I think I already have 4,000 views of their operations. They're going like crazy. Alan even sent us a picture of some rhyolite. So Alan, I think we'll show the pictures. You want to show the pictures first? Are you there?
Yeah, that's fine, Richard.
Okay, you sent us anybody. That's why any other pictures we have, anyone wants to show it. I think Sophia's gonna. This is rhyolite, correct?
Yeah, it's the picture on the right with the spheres is considered flow-banded rhyolite, and it's one of the predominant materials on site. So, that's the picture right there. Yeah, it's fascinating, the different colors and patterns that we get, but it's all the result of magma that flows against a solid substrate, and then it causes the banding, and then over time, different compression will break up the materials, and then it'll repeat the process. So you'll see true banded material, like in the example on the right, and then you'll see speckled and I'm not sure the technical term, but the spheres on the left side and the bottom, where you have all different types of geology combined into just one stone. And the previous picture, Richard, I'm sorry?
I said they look like little planets.
Yes, it's fascinating. Yeah, we have one that looks like Jupiter in a bucket under my desk. But the previous picture, the process that it's actually a multi-step process to create these spheres, and it's pretty fascinating. So they start with a square cube and progressively cut the corners off to turn into almost a spherical shape, and so it goes through a cutting series of grinding and then high polishing steps, transformed into the same type of sphere as what we have in rhyolite form.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I know the video. We can send out the video that you have. One of the things we're starting, we are going to start a podcast, probably a monthly podcast, working with a group called the MoneyWise Guys. They have a daily show, but we have talked about the incredible economic vitality and diversity in the county. And so we want to showcase firms throughout the region and talking to East Kern businesses that you have. Golden Queen, we actually, and they're gonna be doing the first podcast, but each of the communities, if you have a company or several companies, we would love to promote Golden Queen's one of two precious metal mines in the whole state. There's so much happening in East Kern, and this is another way of communicating, obviously to West Kern, but also beyond that. So we're going to be promoting that in the next couple of weeks, kicking that off. And I think the innovation at East Kern is really one of the more fascinating, conversations out there. And so more to come on that, as well as with Kite. Just to dovetail off that, we're going to start entrepreneurial podcast, startup businesses. We have these combinations, right? Golden Queen is now up to 250. So thanks, Alan, and thanks for sending those pictures.
Oh, you're welcome. Richard, I had one other announcement, if I may. We were awarded our permit boundary expansion. So the footprint in which we're allowed to operate has grown to some degree to allow us, as strategic, to allow us to augment our operations here. So in the very near future, we'll have a big announcement related to a couple of major capital projects to expand mining operations and our production capacities.
Great,
thank you. Ridgecrest, I know the mayor was called away half an hour ago, but I think we have Melissa, Dave.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for inviting us back again. I've got a few updates for you, and then Dave is going to give an update on our earthquake recovery efforts on our base. So I've just got a few things and a few grants that I've been working on. I was working with our chamber to erect their new fully electronic sign. Hopefully we can get them through our city org committee and our council so that we can see that finished by the end of the year. So that is the timeline that we're looking at for that. And then the rest of the things that I've been working on are really just grants. One of the more recent grants that I've been working on is for our small businesses, specifically our local restaurants. We're going to be working with the county, and it's going to be CBDG money, Community Development Block Grant. And we are specifically going to be offering equipment for outdoor conversion and allowing for our restaurants to be able to serve outside. I know that a lot of our current restaurants have already converted, but there are things that they still haven't purchased, and a few of our operations that are already doing that are renting their equipment, and this grant is so that we can offer them these tools, anything from barricades so that they can serve alcohol outside to tables and chairs and canopies and swamp coolers and heaters for depending on when or how long these restrictions are going to be put in place. So we wanted to be ready for that, and they can apply, and as soon as we hear back from the county, then we'll move forward with that. I've also been working on an EV charger grant, and we have a fully executed agreement between us and the Eastern Kern Air Pollution Control District. And as soon as our updates in our secured police parking lot have finished, we will also be adding EV chargers for their fleet, and we're very excited about that. I have two more grants that I have been working on, a planning grant, the LEAP grant, and that's supposed to help us redevelop certain standards in our general plan, and we're very much looking forward to that. Lastly, I've got the OEA grant, our Office of Economic Adjustment grant, and it is supposed to help us with resiliency, and it'll help identify things for our community to really help support our naval base, because that is definitely one of the biggest drivers of our economy. And so I will, from here, hand it off to Dave on our earthquake recovery efforts.
Thank you, Melissa. I'd like to cover what we have going. And essentially, we've not shut down. The base hasn't shut down and really didn't suffer too much of a hiccup since the earthquake. There's been continuing work, both in clearing things and in doing operations. And we just had a big special forces operation with about 300 people in town for a month that just completed. So things are looking up, and the funding that the base receives, which is all fee-for-service funding, the way a regular business operates, is going to be steady at about $1.8 billion this year. Now, with regards to the earthquake recovery, the $3 billion that were allocated for FY20 and FY21, about $1.3 billion of it was in MilCons that were to start this year. And this last week, the first or the second two of those MilCons were awarded. From the Michelson Lab repair was awarded to RQ Construction, and the community support facilities, all the stuff at main site, was awarded to Solpac. That's the gym and the chapel and common support facilities. Next week, we are expecting the South Airfield, which is multiple millions towards that 1.3 total, will be awarded. We anticipate this week. As a matter of fact, that will complete. When we get the awards this week, the FY20 total of about $1.3 billion. And they're following quickly on schedule with the FY21, which is just under $2 billion or just under $1 billion to complete the three that we need and some other ancillary things that bring it up to the three total. So that's right on schedule with what they've been maintaining all along. It is what was on schedule with what was presented in February. COVID has not yet had a significant negative impact. There are both requirements on the contractors and requirements that the Navy has for them to come on base with regards to COVID testing and prevention. So it looks like there will not be a delay yet from what we're seeing from COVID overall, even if it should continue in the levels we're seeing now. A couple other things. The number one encroachment issue for the base for the last couple decades, and now officially declared so by the base, is groundwater sustainability. And the Groundwater Authority was successful in passing the first action under the Groundwater Sustainability Plan that was submitted in January to the state, and that was to establish a fee to purchase water water rights, so that we have water rights into the future for what we are overdrafting from the basin. The next steps will be to select the import option, of which there are only 2 or 3, and we needed that to give us credibility in those negotiations. The final 2 things I'll mention is we have a couple personnel things that happened in the Valley. Saracoso, as you knew, Jill Board had retired, and they've selected Dr. Sean Hancock to replace Jill Board as the director there for Saracoso Community College, and I think he comes on board at the end of this month. On a really good note for the future, the executive director of the base, China Lake, Joan Johnson, was selected to be Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Navy for RDT&E, and that's a big feather in her cap and a role in influence for us in the long term. And now we're waiting to see what the process is to fill her shoes. That's all I have.
Great, thanks, Dave. I know we have, I think, is it from Saracosa? I know Maura left as CTE director, but I think is it Corey Hawk is on the line too. So obviously, want to make sure that
it's Chad Houck. I'm the other. That's okay. Corey's my boss. He's the
Marvin.
Corey Marvin is the Vice President of Instruction. He's the acting president until the end of the month, and he and I are splitting Mora's duties. So Mora Vito was part of this group as our Dean of Career Technical Education, and she just right at the beginning of the summer was offered a job to go back down south to be a superintendent of the St. Gabriel ROP Regional Occupation Program District down there, which services, I think, 6 school districts. So I'm sitting in to be able to, if you had called on me, I was going to say all the things that were just announced there. More left in that we've got a new president coming on here shortly. And we've been able to try and make it through COVID and still offer our welding classes on ground and our health careers classes on ground so that essential workforce programs are still able to progress. And we've actually had some great success doing our virtual remote education. For those that don't know, Saracoso was already, prior to all of this, one of the leaders in the state for distance education. 60% of what Saracoso offers to basically the eastern side of California is online classes. So we were positioned very well to continue moving right along, serving the entire eastern side of California with higher education during these times.
Great, thanks, Chad.
Yes.
Stay cool. We have John, I think, Rosamond.
Yes. Thank you, Richard. Our big news in Rosamond here is that the state, after many, many years, has finally decided to fund cleanup of 9 smaller water systems to get rid of impurities in their water. This will bring $15 to $20 million into Rosamond to clean up these private water systems. So that is a great step forward. It'll allow development around all of those systems. Number 2, Rosamond's community, TerraSol, is building the models. They're almost finished, and this will bring new homes, and they're almost all sold to new families. Our Rosamond Municipal Advisory Council went on Zoom for the first time last night, and everybody was excited. It's a step forward. It shows Rosamond is going slowly into the mainstream. And finally, the Rosamond Community Service District has proclaimed September 14th as a day of prayer. And there's controversy about this, but the directors voted for it unanimously, and we're anxious to see what a day of prayer in Rosamond will be like. That's Rosamond.
Well, thank you, John, for calling in from your studio. That's pretty impressive. Great. So next, we got Corey from Tehachapi, and I always enjoy reading Corey's economic update, especially on the both retail and housing developments that are coming to town.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. A lot of that today. Restaurants are a really weird thing because they're one of the most restricted in Kern County and continue to be thanks to the new subjective goalposts that the governor keeps moving and dancing around. But that hasn't stopped people from investing. 3 of the 6 new restaurants in development opened in the last 2 weeks. Prime Bar and Grill, which is mostly Indian food, out by the Flying J, opened. That was a remodel from a former restaurant from years ago. It's phenomenal, and they are super busy already. It's been really great to see. Tacos El Superior finally officially opened. They did a couple what they thought were going to be soft openings, and the line was 50 cars deep, and it went into Tucker Road for blocks. People were so excited, and so now they're officially open, and the line is still ridiculous. But they were that food truck out of the Antelope Valley, and they built their first brick and mortar here in Tehachapi, and being responded to very well. And then Four Seasons Cafe, which is a Thai fusion restaurant in downtown, right on the corner of Curry and Tehachapi Boulevard. They opened, and great reviews and lots of customers in the first few days. They've been open about a week now, so great stuff there. Those 3 have opened, and are doing very well. Panda Express remains under construction. They're shooting for an early December opening, and they're definitely on schedule. They haven't missed a beat. Their project is going seamless right now. It's amazing how fast they're moving. Roundtable Pizza also is located nearby. They're in plan review to take over a former restaurant space just below that, but near the Walmart development. So that corner is going to be fully occupied here very shortly. One business that was a victim of COVID due to the fact that they were in business for less than a year and weren't able to qualify for any federal funding. They did close, but they were replaced quickly on Tehachapi Boulevard with a specialty antique shop. They opened last Saturday, so vacancy did not last long at all. It's pretty much one tenant to the other. And permits are coming soon for a Starbucks development in Capitol Hills near the hospital, and the new Town Place Suites by Marriott, which remains under construction. They're on target for a spring 2021 opening as well. On to housing, moving closer to bringing the Master Plan Sage Ranch community, the 1,000 unit development, to our planning commission, working through some issues just because it's a massive project. And so there's a lot of things that have to be discussed and debated and agreed upon, and we're very close. They have hired their real estate company along with a variety of other team players, a general contractor, and so we're making serious progress, and they are as well. The address, which is a 250 unit luxury home development at the corner of Highline and Tucker, they're going through a similar plan development process, working with them as well. So they should be in the planning commission in the next few months too. And we have a merchant builder who's potentially entering the market on a project that's in existence. More details when it's official, but it's a nice addition to the inventory. So for us, if Palmdale gets the Space Force, we're going to have the housing available. We're not going to be hoping a developer comes. We're not going to be hoping that somebody's interested. They're interested. They're going through the process. Some are close to moving dirt. Some have dirt already moved, and they're working on some blue top lots. So we're going to have at least 1,200, if not closer to maybe 1,500 units that will be under construction, possibly by the time the decision is even made about the Space Force. So we expect a big impact for Tehachapi, and we're certainly prepared for that impact. So sales prices are up, days on the market is down, inventory is tight right now, and we're looking to get that new inventory. One thing that we've adopted here recently, just to help with some of the offset of lack of tourism or reduction in tourism because of COVID, is filming. We've had about 4 or 5 film crews call for filming permission, or as in the case last week, I spent a couple of days with a location scout looking for locations to reshoot some scenes from a feature film that's coming up. The crews are back to work, but permits are limited in LA County, and they can't travel very far. If they can't shoot what they need in LA, they're not allowed to travel very far. So Tehachapi is providing an opportunity for the studios to come and film, whether it's a new production, reshoots of other things. So we believe we have a lot to offer. So we built a Filming in Tehachapi page on the city's website, so scouts can view a lot of our popular locations. And also we included resources that are important for the film industry. Where are the hotels? Where are the restaurants? What catering is available? What retail is nearby? So they can have basically a database they can go to before they even pick the phone up to us. So pretty exciting. It's generating a lot of interest, and our minds will help offset some of that tourism impact, especially for hotels, retail, and restaurant purchases that might have been down because of lack of tourism. We are working with Supervisor Scrivener's office and the Tehachapi wine growers to update some directional signage in Cummings Valley, and from the city side, help direct traffic through Caltrans wayfinding program off the highway and through the city to get them out to the outlying areas where our wineries and tasting rooms are located. Thanks to Laurel and Wyatt for her leadership out of Supervisor Scrivener's office for this endeavor, and Lydia Cheney of the Greater Tehachapi Economic Development Council for her assistance as well. We've kind of solved some mysteries of some signs that are out there, and no one knows who owned them or where they came from, but we're going to fix them nonetheless. So we did a little treasure hunt of our own and came up with something that's going to be beneficial to the county and the city as well. Especially, it'll be a nice marketing push for our soon to be a reality Tehachapi Mountains ABA, which the public comment closed on that, and so we're closer to being able to put that on the wine bottles. And then Railroad Corridor of big capital projects wrapping up. One rail crossing is complete. The others are expected to be reopened in the coming weeks. This is a complete overhaul of all 3 downtown railroad crossings, including fencing, ADA compliant crossings, pedestrian safe crossings. It also tied together a portion of downtown, which is north of the Union Pacific Railroad tracks, and much more pedestrian friendly. So it's going to pull in a little bit bigger area of downtown. So that project has been a big lift, and it's getting closer to being completed. And Richard, I'm glad you brought up podcasts. I'm glad that the city of Tehachapi kind of laid the groundwork with Tehachapod, which debuted back in February. And it is a People's Choice Podcast Award nominee for Best Government Podcast. So I'm glad you're jumping on the podcast train, and we're happy to blaze the trail.
Have to come up with something as clever as that.
Yeah. It's actually, we had a little contest at City Hall to name the show, and a couple of our guys from Public Works came up with that. So they were the big winners. So
best practices we need to trying to emulate. So thank you. And I think we have Christina too from Adventist talk about the hospital.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate that so much. We do have some really exciting updates here at the hospital. We early on in the pandemic, we reached out to some of our partners who serve those that are most vulnerable. We reached out to all 4 of our senior centers and Meals on Wheels programs in Boron, Boron, Tehachapi, Mojave, and Cal City. Supplied them all with some grants to continue the good work they were doing. Reached out to the Salvation Army with a grant to support some bulk food purchases for them. And as things have evolved, we've continued that outreach. We worked with all of those same agencies. We received an abundance of some snack food items, including some Kind bars. So we were able to push out 2,000 pieces in total. And just want to celebrate what a great place this is to live, because no matter what's going on, we pull together, we find a way to support each other. Also wanted to talk a little bit about our development that we are expanding on, our clinics in California City. I hope to have Bonnie Quinones, who is our director of our clinics, on in a subsequent meeting to talk a little more specifics about that and access to care that's going to provide, as well as just continuing to spur the economy in California City. But we have a special guest here with us today who is really leading out in some of our expansion and development projects to grow our services to Eastern Kern. Sam Itani is here, and he'll wave here in a minute and share a few words. Sam is a regional position as we continue to develop a Kern County approach to our Adventist health serving our communities. We have a hospital, as you know, in Tehachapi, in Bakersfield, and in Delano. And Sam is tasked with the very big job of growth in all of those campuses and serving all of those communities. So we're so blessed that we see a lot of Sam, even though he has a big job, he has big shoulders, and he's up here working with the district, working with the city, working with our community partners to grow what we have. So Sam Itani, again, as I said, is our operational executive for the county. And Sam, if you have a few words for us.
Thank you for this wonderful introduction, Christy. I'm going to take you with me everywhere I go. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm so excited to be a part of this community and part of East Kern as a whole. From an Adventist health perspective, we see great potential in the city of Tehachapi and in East Kern as a whole. And Adventist Health not only showed interest, but already invested heavily in East Kern. We currently have 2 clinics, one in Mojave, one in California City, but also we have one in Tehachapi. And we have 2 exciting projects that we're working on. One of them is an imaging pavilion that has been funded and approved, and we're finalizing the plan to submit to the city for permit. And that will bring a state-of-the-art CT scanner and an MRI to Tehachapi that we never had one in this city before. So that's really gonna make it so much easier for all the residents of East Kern and Tehachapi. They don't have to go to Lancaster or go down to Bakersfield to get their MRI done. They can do it right here in the city. And this project is slated to be completed Q3 of 2021. So really within a year, we are hoping to have this project completed and open to our community. The other project we're working on is an outpatient pavilion that would be around 10,000 square feet of adding clinic space, bring in physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy to this campus, and also bring multidisciplinary specialists to Tehachapi and to East Kern. So we would have surgeons coming up here, practicing here, and doing surgeries here in Tehachapi, from cardiac surgeon to urologist, orthopedic, you name it. So we're going to make it available to any surgeon that wants to come up here and be able to see patients, so the patient don't have to go down to Bakersfield or Lancaster to their clinics where they are. So we're excited about that. This project just kicked off. I'm going to team up with Christina on that project and the district. And to be honest with you, I met with the city, and they have been extremely supportive, and I'm so grateful for their willingness to really make it easier for us to grow and to bring those projects to Tehachapi and to East Kern. So thank you guys, and I'm excited to work with all of you.
Great. Thanks, Sam.
In East Kern, that may not be familiar with Sam's resume, Sam was responsible for a lot of the really amazing outpatient development at Adventist Health Bakersfield. And so a lot of all that you see around their campus really has Sam's fingerprints on it then. So he has a track record of really working quickly and efficiently to get these things realized. And we know we need more of this here in our community. We've, I think, gotten conditioned to going without for so long that, you know, it was such a beautiful thing to step into this new state-of-the-art hospital. But we really haven't rested at all on our laurels. We've got more to bring to the community that deserves it and that needs it. So I'm just excited that he's able to spend some time here on our campus. It's a real coup to have him here.
Thanks, Christine. Good to see you again, Sam.
Likewise, Richard.
Well, now we're to the open forum. So anybody would like to weigh in? Anything that wasn't addressed today? Obviously, we have a pretty big audience of attendees, so I'm not sure how to have an order here, but speak now or forever hold your peace. Great. Well, we aim for 4 o'clock.
Hey,
so,
Richard,
yes.
I do have one thing, and maybe Cheryl can chime in. I just wanted to let you know that I am going to be heading an advisory committee with Bakersfield College and NREL, promoting renewable energies throughout Kern County. And Cheryl has been a very big part of that, as well as Dr. Christian. But it is going to be very exciting. We are going to be sharing a webinar, and it will give you kind of an idea of what our plans are for the future and for the Kern Community College District as we move forward in becoming more aware of renewable energies. But they will be having a webinar on October 7th, and it will be from 10 to 12, I believe, and more information will be coming out. We would like you to save that date because it's going to be very similar to this, to an online structure, but it will be very interesting, a lot of great speakers, but it will also be promoting, as we all know, Kern is one of the leaders in renewable energy for the Western United States. And so we are going to be getting a number of technical folks. There's a number of different folks involved with this, but I did take on the task of the chair for the advisory committee. So please look forward for that. If you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me or Cheryl, and we would love to give you some more insight.
And by Cheryl, you mean Cheryl Scott, who previously worked at the Kern EDC?
That is the one and only. Yes. So, we're very excited about it. I was very honored to be asked, and I am going to be surrounded by a number of wonderful and much smarter people than I am. But I think as a group, we are going to really have a lot of great things coming forward and moving ahead.
Actually,
Go ahead, Richard.
Nope.
Oh, I was just going to say, as well as, can you quickly expand the issue on the Joshua Tree, which could affect all development in East Kern? Could you just give us a couple of sentences on that?
Oh, that's been my latest nightmare. The Joshua Tree is what the Center for Biological Diversity wants to list it as an endangered species. And we were able to get the commission, the Fish and Game Commission, to postpone that decision for candidacy, which once it becomes a candidate, it means then that you have to follow a bunch of rules as if it were on the endangered species list now. And so we're trying to get some things in order before this decision may take place, and that is going to be taking place on September 22nd. So that's next week. We are very well aware of it. It's not only going to affect renewables from a solar and wind perspective, but it's going to be affecting mining and a whole bunch of other folks in eastern Kern County, as well as the whole western area, San Bernardino, Kern, Los Angeles. It will stop a number of projects. And not only will it be renewables, but it will also really affect housing in different areas of the state of California as well. It should be noted that the federal government chose not to list it as an endangered species. However, the illustrious folks in California have decided to try and make that happen. So we have our work cut out for us, and we are working extremely hard to stop it. Not sure how that will go, but at least we're hoping for some protections from our industry so that we can continue to move forward. Especially, you have a bunch of developers who have permitted or gone through that process already, and this could change the whole game of their EIRs. And so we're trying to get those projects that have been approved, those projects that are in the permitting stage. So there's a number of different things that we are working on, and hopefully we'll have some success, but we'll know more next week. Thank you for asking.
So just a very quick update from the Kern County Builders Exchange, especially specific to the East Kern topic. Our Procurement Technical Assistance Center looks like we will be going live in October on that one. So especially whatever sort of connective tissue that links back to, especially the work that was mentioned earlier on base and the EDA conversation. If there's any support that we can provide from a PTOC perspective, we'll be more than happy to help out with that. Last thing I'll add with is we're submitting a grant for environmental worker training opportunities. If it goes through, we'll have about 60 slots to put workers through a program to develop environmental remediation skill sets. So it'll be about a 240-hour curriculum that we're putting in there. So as it relates to East Kern, especially if there's anything on the mining and land redevelopment side of it, if you have any thoughts on candidates that you would want to try to put through that program, we would be happy to prioritize those 60 slots for the East Kern, for any East Kern related projects. So thanks, y'all.
Thanks, Jason. Well, we have 4 minutes. Well, thank you all for coming today. We had great attendance, and we will probably be seeing you virtually, not in person, in 2 months. But appreciate your support and commitment to East Kern, all that you all do for East Kern, and we will be in touch.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank
you, Richard. Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Great rest.